Kind of a nasty night out there. Still a good amount of snow on the ground, but it's raining at the moment. So, yeah, just a damp and raw night. Anyway, so yesterday I had the Craftsman planer out of the shop and getting ready to plane some of the bottom planks for the alpha dory that we're working on. And I couldn't get the planer head to adjust up and down for the boards that I wanted to plane. I could get it to adjust. It would like adjust a little bit and then jam, and adjust a little bit and jam, and I was cranking really hard on the handle here and didn't want to break anything because I was cranking way harder than I should have had to have cranked. So what I did was I pretty much ruined a video through language unfit for YouTube, and then kind of gave up on trying to plane any boards for the evening and brought the planer in here to see if I could figure out what on earth was wrong with it. I couldn't really see anything wrong with it when I was out there with working with the wood, but it's on the ground and there's snow and etc., etc. One thing I did notice was when I was cranking the handle, the plastic shroud was kind of pulling away from the base plate, the aluminum base plate, and right at that joint there, which to me said there was something jamming, so that when the screws tried to move the head up, it was like trying to move the whole, it was like trying to rip the planer off the base plate. So there are rails that the planer travels on, which you can see. You can't see them too well inside the shroud, but see, now that I've taken the shroud off, you can fully view the rails. And on those rails, there's a locking mechanisms. You can see that there. And the handle to the locking mechanism is this bar right over here, which you move this bar up and down to lock and unlock the rails. So I was thinking like, oh, maybe the locking mechanism is, you can see it, there's a spring that keeps the pads up against the rail, and then there's a bar that travels through that spring off of a cam on the locking handle, off that cam right there, to apply pressure to the rails to lock the cutter head when you're cutting, and then you unlock it to raise and lower. Now, it was definitely unlocked. I made sure of that. So first thing I did was I took off the shroud, and that's pretty easy. It's just a couple of these little screws, Phillips head screws, are in these two holes. So you just take those out, those two screws out, and then lift the shroud. I think I'll put the, yeah, so you just lift the shroud, and then the bottom will swing out, and then you can pull that off. So once I had the shroud off, I could see that there wasn't really rust on these rails at all. I was thinking, oh, because I couldn't see the bottom set of guides where those run on the rails at all with the shroud on. So I was thinking, oh, maybe it's rusted up down there or something. There was a lot of wood chips jammed in here, like really packed in super tight. But that wasn't what was keeping it from going up and down. So next thing I did was sprayed a bunch of WD-40 on the rails, see if I could get it to move. And then, so as I was trying to crank it up and down, I could see that the cutter head wasn't moving on the rails. The rails themselves were moving. So I'm like, what the heck is going on? Because there wasn't any rust here, and I could move the cutter head on the rail individually, but when I went to crank it, the rails were moving instead of the cutter head. It was like it was binding. And it looked to me like the back end of the cutter head was lagging behind the front end, so the front was sliding up and down. Well, so I went to flip it over, see if I could see anything on the underside. Yeah, I'm gonna put this wedge in here to keep the table from coming down. Alright, so I tipped it upside down, and you can see like you don't want to crank this thing too hard, because these gears here, which transfer the cranking motion from one screw to the other screw, they're just plastic gears. It's a heavy ABS plastic, but even so, they're pretty vulnerable to damage. Okay, so anyway, I got the thing upside down, and I was just kind of like looking at the gears and seeing if there was something wrong there. And all of a sudden I realized that one of the bolt heads that holds the rail in was missing. So that's why the rail was moving. You can see it right there. See, here's the rail with the bolt head. There's the bolt head. It's a big Allen screw, Allen head bolt. And this one down here has nothing in it. So that's why the rail was moving instead of the cutter head. And I think that's part of why it was binding, because the rail was moving a lot more easily than the top rail. So the back of the cutter head was jamming, and the front was binding, when the back moved. So I went to the hardware store today. I don't know where the bolt went. It probably, I think it fell out. And so I went to pull another bolt out so I could get the right size bolt. And that bolt was like totally loose. It wasn't even finger tight in the rail. So what I got to do is go through all of these and make sure that they're tight, and then put the bolt back in, and I'm hoping that will get me at least towards figuring out why this thing wasn't adjusting to the proper height for planing the planking. Because the thickness planer, a big part of it is adjusting the planer to the thickness that you want. If it's not doing that, it's not doing a whole lot. Let's see. Yeah, so I guess these were yeah, look, you can see that one moved right away, and I didn't loosen that at all. That just that was like that. So there's a lock washer on the, this one was a little bit loose too, lock washer on those bolts, but so yeah, it must have come loose and dropped out, and who knows, maybe I found it and put it with my other bolts or something, didn't know what it went to. So we'll see if this helps with the helps with the planer. Anyway, yeah, the bolt was kind of pricey actually at the hardware store. It was like $1.50 something, $1.56 I think. But it's a metric bolt with an 8mm coarse thread metric. So there's that. Let's see. Maybe I'll make sure these ones are different size Allen wrench for the top ones apparently. Super convenient, but alright. There we go. These ones seem to be tight. Yeah, they don't look loose. Yeah, those are all nice and tight, so too bad they didn't use those bolts on the bottom as well. But yeah. There we go. So yeah, it seems to be cranking a little bit easier. Yeah. So anyway, it's just one more thing to check, but good to get this, good to get the planer up and running, because that means I can get on to thicknessing the bottom and nailing the bottom together. But yeah, I'm thinking maybe I'll even leave these side shrouds off, just because I think I'll get a lot less sawdust, a lot less shavings packed in there. So we'll see how it runs, and hopefully that'll do the trick. Anyway, thanks for watching, and if you got any questions about the dory build, feel free to leave any questions in the comment section, and I'll try and include them in include the answers in an upcoming video if I know the answers. Yeah, anyway, catch you later.